one tank, and this is why I actually still brought up Braum perhaps as a better option. It's a support that can be a tank that can empower auto-attacking compositions, but can do a lot of other things, and most importantly being that second frontliner, that second tank member. Janna's going to keep the carries alive, but the way I see this is they probably need to get ahead early here, Team WE, to snowball the composition, because if you fall behind against a Lulu Varus and a Cho'Gath, most importantly, you'll probably just get popped every time a team fight happens, let alone Syndra and Lee Sin, two very good snowball champions that can one-hit carries with that Syndra outplay button that she has on her keyboard. The fact that Lee Sin can pick single targets off.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether Venus is going to be able to get things done in the early game, because we know that Condi is going to be moving around the map as quickly as he possibly can, trying to affect these lanes as fast as possible. So loading up here towards Summoner's Rift for game number 2. WE wanting to try and set themselves up for match point here in Wuhan. Home crowd advantage, but also the home crowd disadvantage of all of that pressure that WE do have on them. If game 1 is anything to go by, though, not looking too worried about the situation whatsoever, because it was domination to start things off.
Crowd just going off.
Yeah.
Of course, wishing their team luck. Frostgoon has mentioned what it means an awful lot already. It's a great word, though. And so we'll watch as they slowly pan out on the Summoner's Rift. Again, we mentioned the early strength. Well, right now, WE's bottom lane in the 2v2. Ben and Mystic, I mean, they've gone for the Targods, they've gone for the coin, they're going to try and just hold on for their lives. Tristana has a decent amount of wave clear, so relative to what a Varus and a Lulu will output, they'll probably still push WE under the turret, they just won't have as many minions to threaten the structure itself with. You're looking at the junglers once again as the big priority. The early pressure Lee Sin, almost forced, because Ezreal was there. You have to respond to an Ezreal with an aggressive jungler, or you're most likely just going to lose tempo in the jungle, and then pretty much just lose out on the first gank, lose the game.
Yeah, if we remember back to WE versus Lion, one of the other options was going towards that Kha'Zix, and works out in a similar way. You know, get that early game pressure and try and camp him out. And if you face check the Lee Sin once he picks up a red buff in a couple of levels, will be very scary for Condi. Question is what they're going to be able to do this time. It is going to be the red buff start, but will it be a level 2 gank, something like that? Perhaps. Which lane is he going to head towards as well? Because,
well, right now,
yeah, looks like top could be the option.
He's actually about to find him at the bush. They're about to spot each other.
Oh my goodness. Nocti already using the flash, and the red buff is there. Condi just going to move straight back into the brush.
Condi could have flashed. Like, they could have went for that kill if they really wanted to pressure it, but Condi holds on. He knows the blue buff's about to be shown as missing, but what Young Generation have done smartly on the opposite side is they've warded the enemy blue buff. Process of elimination now with the rest of these wards that Condi is carefully and expertly skirting around. He is just hard committing to ganks.
Yeah, lane after lane here. Really good scat of the week, though, as Noel gets Condi out of the way. Condi not going to be too worried about it, just going to leech some XP.
Yeah.
Move himself over towards his blue side.
Now, Young Generation have survived both of these ganks. You've got a flash use in the top lane, absolutely nothing used but a bit of mana in the middle lane. So ultimately, they come out ahead. Team WE take a big risk to go for those ganks. And now we watch as they slowly try and get back into the jungle. But look at Condi. He knows that his blue buff's going to be pressured out. Has no vision he can place down there. Because once again, the bottom lane of WE are losing. So he just stays top. Yeah. He's just going to stay at one CS all game.
Well, thankfully it's the right CS, as they do get a ward in this brush. The red buff is there, and Condi looking for the first blood. Should be able to get it as the rupture at least lands. Nocti doing a bunch of work, but first blood does go to 957.
Lots of damage coming out of Condi. Also saves his Q for the moment. The Twisted Advance connects. And Condi, as he walks through, 2 CS now, as he steals one away from 957. They will still get themselves that first blood, and a nice little buffer of gold going towards the team. Venus is still really much like haunting his jungle.
Yeah, going to be able to take away the blue buff. The wolves are going to be stolen as well. Shie, not a lot he can do against the Lee Sin.
And a 2-level advantage, most importantly, for Venus as well. If we look at the race to 6, you would have to expect Lee Sin will win. Condi, very luckily, is going to have some catch-up experience bonuses.
And look at these stats for Noel. This is what I was talking about before. His Syndra's 0-2. Basically a 5 KDA and plus 22 CS at 15 minutes. This guy is lane dominant on this champion, despite how the games ended up on day number 1.
Yeah, and 682 damage per minute is by no means bad as well. It's just that he keeps losing these games. The first time we saw him play as Syndra wasn't great. The second time, though, was fantastic, as we'll get to watch what happens in the top lane. 957 wards, holds onto the twisted advance, as does Condi with his Q. Note that as he's stuck, that's when the Q goes out, maximizing the damage. Nice little dodge. Condi, of course, with the grasp of the Undying and a minion wave hitting him, still loses an awful lot of his health.
Yep.
But ultimately, the correct play from Condi, I'm still calling it cheese, but the correct play.
Well, speaking of cheese, he's back there again, Rusty. No red buff this time.
Doesn't have a buff.
Yeah.
Nor does he have a blue buff. Venus has that.
Teleport from Shea is going to be used to get back into the mid lane.
What are you doing?
Venus now trying to get a gank underneath the turret here.
They're full health.
WE bottom side. Yeah, Safeguard's going to come in, but Mystic and Ben probably not too worried about this. They're just looking to try and get as much pressure on this outer turret as they possibly can.
And he may stay, actually. The Lee Sin might just want to hang around if their goal is to get the structure. There's no teleport, though, from Nocti. You'd have to feel like 957's well equipped to be able to come down and counter gank this, and they don't know where Condi is. It looks like they'll enter the side of caution. Cute little stuff there, though, from Venus. It's not a gank, but it's still successful if his goal was damage to the turret.
Yeah, and Condi actually able to catch himself back up as far as jungle minions are concerned. Don't let that confuse you, though, ladies and gentlemen. That was a Krug camp that he took, so inflated numbers as far as that is concerned, but does help as far as the catch-up experience is concerned. Condi abusing that just a little bit.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's only about 200 gold behind, so relative to Venus in the jungle comparison will be perfectly fine, Condi, considering the start.
So having to be a little bit careful, accidentally cancels an auto attack there, means that the trade relatively even. Condi waiting in the wings. Pallet does need to be very careful. He's moving towards Condi now. The explosion of damage on top of the Lulu, who's looking for Ben. The Ignite shouldn't be enough as he has popped that potion as well. Venus, bit of a love tap from the Mystic shot, and WE get themselves out with a kill.
Pallet, knowing there was no way out in that situation, goes forwards, doesn't use the flash to try and get overly aggressive for a kill, though. Knows the limits and knows that he's just going to be a sacrifice for the cause. Team WE, well, Condi in the correct place at the correct time using the control ward vision that was already established. Get themselves a second kill. Young Generation's jungler, Venus, definitely not playing the gank game as well.
Yeah, and this is the danger. Of course, Condi, we knew that he wanted to get the ganks off, and Young Generation also knew that Condi would be not focusing on farming, he's focusing on getting his lanes ahead where he can, and he has actually been able to do that thus far. 957 with this minion wave pushing forward. Nocti able to farm, absolutely fine, but 957 also will be able to get himself into a great position, and it's important that that one tank is going to be able to get the work done. But now you can see Nor moving towards the bottom lane.
And the Lee Sin, there is a chance that the turret is the focus. If a kill comes out, they're happy for it.
Oh, that scatter the weak was amazing. The ultimate comes out from Nor, all too easily locks down the kill onto Ben, and Mystic just getting escorted up this lane. The flash comes in, and Venus is going to bully Mystic through it. Orbs thrown at him, and that's going to be the double for Nor. Bottom lane destroyed of WE.
First turret goes down, 2 big kills going over to Null, and suddenly it's a 1,000 gold lead that stretches out for Young Generation, and that's the beauty of this play. Also the Infernal Drake. All it takes is one good move to redirect the flow of this game. WE's momentum was just picks, just small details. Even Nocti taking away that blue buff.
Well, Nature's Grasp is going to come in. Condi wants to get this one away. She is going to be here as well as the dragon falls in favor of Young Generation, but WE, they've got their eyes on the kills as Shea comes in with a fast bomb, all too easily takes that one down, and thankfully for 957, the turret is going to reset at the right time.
Yeah, good flash out from 957. They trade as far as kills are concerned, but they still lose that first turret from the pushing 2v2. Young Generation will obviously swap that lane now. They'll send their bottom lane up to the top side, and they'll try and continue to repeat that strategy, this constant onslaught of just destroying structures, growing a gold advantage from these structures, and then turning that into a mid-game team fight when they get the big item spikes, ideally before their opponents of Team WE. We get to watch, of course, how Condi will lose himself a blue buff. Has Smite.
The old Nocti walks up and yells at it.
At 5 HP.
Yeah.
That's what the blue buff was at. Tragic. Of course, this does sign his own death sentence in the end. It takes an awful long time to the point where Nocti can clear a minion wave, get a bit of extra health back. Still going to die, but 957, he's got his flash. Twisted Advance doesn't actually reset the aggro, I believe, because they kill him before he can follow through with it.
Also, Nocti giving over the double buffs to 957 will make his own life harder. And to that end, they are going to switch up these lanes as well. Big Koro just wanted to push this one through, and that outer turret falling on the bottom side. First up here for Young Generation means that WE a little bit behind the 8 ball, and as far as tempo is concerned, that play for Young Generation really did turn things around. WE grabbing themselves back that gold advantage based on their earlier kills. But as far as map play is concerned, Young Generation back in the forefront.
Yeah, they certainly are. Of course, the trade was done by WE just then, though. The fact that they're trying to push top lane expected from Young Generation, WE are the ones that do the unexpected.
Like shooting blast cones for
like
no
just
reason.
blast coding your own teammate back into the red buff. Yep. It's also very difficult to siege against 957 when he's got the blue buff, when he's got the red for health regeneration between minion waves that are crashing as well. The blessing in disguise is the fact that 957's able to pick up those buffs. They're gone now, but he's been able to hold on to this top lane for such a protracted period of time. It's given WE the ability to rotate now, as he's
Yeah, he's not too worried about this whole
thinks he's
situation.
the king of the castle.
He's got a bunch of items. Ultimate does eventually come down as Nature's Grasp. Don't think it'll be enough as he gets himself back in there. Wild Growth just to make sure that the tree dies. And Mystic, has he turned up in time is the question. Big kickback as the polymorph comes in at the same time. And Mystic on the wrong side of this fight. Condi now flashed on and destroyed by Null in the jungle. And Young Generation looking to turn the tide in this series.
Does Condi show up on time? Does Mystic show up on time? Yes, for a kick in the face. And he's going to die as Young Generation will get themselves another structure, but most importantly, all of those kills. 957, Condi and Mystic go down. Very well played from the side to standard League of Legends from YG. And finally, the craziness that WE are throwing at them backfires heavily.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like disrespect. I mean, based on this composition, this triple AD carry comp, it's not exactly your standard League of Legends that we've seen from WE so far. 957 actually full disrespect. He wasn't expecting just to be taken down in this 2v2.
Level down, not really capable of getting the kill onto Pallet. Finds himself next to Big Koro, who still had his heal. Ben, of course, has to use the Monsoon to get him out, but meanwhile, Null is going to absolutely obliterate Condi, and you'd have to imagine, just by being 2-0 already, can pretty much one-hit him. Yeah, look at the moves, the mechanics.
And that was actually pretty good, though. That was blind, and then it got the Q over the wall. Unfortunately for Condi, the Arcane Shift, still not enough as far as escaping the stun.
I actually didn't mean that one sarcastically for the first time
right.
ever watching Syndra. I love the assumed knowledge as well, though, because it is a Syndra. That was good.
It was. Extremely good. Does mean that Young Generation now close to a 2,000 gold lead. Nocti gonna throw out the Righteous Glory, but she counters that.
Teleporting. Lots of respect shown to the Young Generation roster. The fact that they look at mid lane, Nocti just pops the Righteous Glory and sprints at Chie. Suddenly they're teleporting to help him. But I mean, the teleport's now gone, so correct response. We're looking at macro from YG once again.
Yep, well, both of them are actually gone as Chie is going to teleport back to the mid lane. Nothing they can do about this Rift Herald being taken down. Game number one, it was WE taking that extraordinarily easily. Now at 13 minutes into this game, it's Young Generation with the control.
Last time we saw a lead like this, a team beating Team WE, somehow they managed to keep themselves with a gold advantage. And that was Lion.
Yeah.
Of course, now Young Generation, very good at using leads, very good at getting victories with those leads, has started to stretch one out, primarily though, through their mid laner with 3 big kills. WE are going to have to try and pull out that mid-game macro that got them the wins against Lion to get this game going back in their favor. With all these AD carries, it's such an awkward draft, they are susceptible to being scaled against.
Well, Nature's Grasp going to go down just to secure this outer turret on the top side of the map. WE going back to playing Summoner's Rift as opposed to against Young Generation, which is what they're able to often utilize. Null, okay, going down relatively low. Yeah, Orb's getting thrown in. Chie not going to die from this one, and Null quite low as well. The rotation should be there from WE, and yeah, this will just be the outer turret falling down as soon as Harold gets one headbutt. See you later, turret.
Yeah, they'll get that turret. Also looking towards the bottom side of the rift. Nocti has been putting a fair amount of damage down on this. 957 could have stood between those Vorpal
yeah.
spikes and the Cho'Gath and maybe made him tank the turret. But he's still going to lock it down.
Yeah, Miniwave actually turning up in the nick of time, but
Here comes
WWE
Tabut,
doing
tabut, tabut,
exactly
tabut.
the same thing. Nocti's been taking so much
Tabut.
punishment.
Oh my
So
Tabut.
far
Ayo.
as 5 members of WE punish the big Void machine on the bottom side.
Pretty big punish, to say the least.
Yeah.
Everybody's showing up, but who's going to help top lane? If they're all going bottom, who's going to help mid lane when it has a Rift Herald still pushing it in when GA decides to recall and get a package?
Well, it just feels like that tempo advantage that Young Generation picked up earlier on in the game has not been overcome by WE so far. True Shot Barrage is going to come in just to try and clear out that minion wave, and WE are, against the flow of the game, going to take this Ocean Drake, but not as good as the Infernal that Young Generation picked up earlier on.
And you mentioned against the flow, absolutely the case, but of course the flow itself isn't all that significant. It's more than a trickle, but it's not going to be a full waterfall, basically, of how big a lead YG have got. I don't know where I'm going with
That
this.
was one
I'm just
hell
going
of
to
an
keep
analogy,
talking my way through it. We'll get out to another end eventually. They don't have a snowball
That's
lead.
the joy of listening to you, my
They
friend.
don't, yeah, look, here we are.
He's had a long day. He's certainly had a long day. And I appreciate you being here, because otherwise it would be the Atlas solo cast situation, and no one wants that. No one wants that, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, well, I think it'd be hilarious. However, setting himself up to try and take Condi down. Condi going to have none of it. As he heads back home, Warrior Enchant is going to be on the cards, but does still need to get towards his Trinity Force.
But he has got the warrior completed, and that is important, because when you look down the rest of the roster, the Infinity Edge is there for Mystic with the Ardent Sensor to support him and give that extra attack speed. You've got the Trinity Force there in the middle.